Yes, sir.
Okay. You can take a snapshot of these second module if you want to. So in this module, we'll be covering formal and informal communication, non-verbal communication, cross-cultural demonstrations communication, and listening and reading. Okay. So now let's begin with formal and informal communication. You see, now we all communicate, isn't it? Like when you communicate with your friends, okay, nonchalantly, okay, if we are without any barriers, calling each other names or using slang. What is that communication? That is informal communication. With me, while we sit down with our colleagues, okay, and we're not having a formal meeting or a discussion, okay, we discuss the way we put the way we broach on a subject, and we have an informal discussion, okay. But when we have a seniors with us and we are broaching a subject, okay, with so many people from different departments, then what happens that communication from informal that becomes a formal piece of communication. So you see, formal communication is it refers to the flow of official information. Okay, like when we're called for a meeting or while we're taking a class. Okay, we send you the timetable, and when we have that class going on, the communication that we use is not informal but formal communication. Okay, and in an organization, you see, for the flow cultural confirmation is through the predefined channels and routes. Okay, like for example, if I want to communicate with the vice chancellor, okay, or the registrar, I cannot simply write up a letter to them. Okay, I have got to go through the proper channel route. So when I draft my application, okay, I have to get it forwarded by my head. Okay, my head will forward it, and then that letter will go to the registrar or the vice chancellor. There we see the content again. That letter will mark back to the head, and the head will comment, and he or she will give it to me. Okay. So with formal communication, everything has got to be done according to the protocol which has been laid down in the organization. Okay. You see, this formal communication, you see, I told you that it follows a hierarchical structure and chain of command. Means it flows from the top to bottom. That if there are any policy matters to be discussed, like right now, the college has been reopened for students barring the first year. Okay. So now that decision was taken at the top. Okay. And once the decision was taken, the information flew from the board of the academic council of the AC. Okay. Where the vice chancellor is the patron of it. And it came from the members of the academic council to all the heads and all the deans, and then to different departments. So that that was the flow of formal communication. Okay, so it follows a hierarchical structure and chain of command. Now the structure is typically top down, so it goes from the top to the bottom. Okay, and it flows from the leaders in the department, that means the managers, the head of departments, and senior staff in the organization, and it funnels down to the low level employees. Now, the employees are bound to follow the formal communication channels while performing the duties. That's what we told you at the very beginning. That even if we receive a piece of communication and we want to have clarification, we can't directly write it to them. It has got to go through the proper protocol. If you have an organization where a worker wants to communicate with the middle level management, he'll first share his views or share the document with the supervisor. The supervisor in turn will pass it on to his boss and he will take it to the middle level management. Okay. And from there again the communication or the feedback will come down. So that is formal communication. Now it says that employees are bound to follow formal communication channels while performing their duties. I have separated one sentence from the main paragraph. It says that Formal communication is considered effective as it is a timely and systematic flow of communication. Now, I have eliminated it from the main paragraph because you see, it's a point of deliberation. Because if a communication, formal communication, okay, it follows through a stereotypical chain of command, okay, and cannot bypass, okay, it cannot bypass any level. So it might be effective, yes, because it has got the agreement of everyone, but it is very time consuming. So we cannot say that it is a timely and systematic flow of communication. Not every time, because you see, in times of emergency or national disaster or whatever, it again follows the same protocol. From the top, it will go to the director and then to the president, then the vice president, then to the different chain of command. It will become very time consuming. And by the time the information reaches the concerned department, okay, a mishap might have already occurred. Right? So it is effective. Why it is effective? Because it has the paper trail. You can get to know from where the information actually originated. But about timely and systematic, that is a point to be challenged and discussed. So in many organizations, many times information, okay, they say that, okay, this is what I'm telling you, and a hard copy of the same will follow, but you act on it. So that what has happened that the entire hierarchy has been bypassed. Okay. Today, what is happening with this advent of information technology, at least in our institute? Okay, that the flow of information fine. Instead of sending a hard copy with the payout to the department, it is time consuming. What happens is that the registrar or the dean just simply send the copy to the concerned person, okay, on his mail ID, and another hard copy will follow. And the copy is marked to the department head as well. Earlier, what used to happen is that if somebody was promoted or somebody was transferred or somebody was transferred, okay, the flow of the information was that it used to go to all the departments, okay, in a physical form, and the concerned person who was supposed to receive it used to be the last person on earth to receive it. Okay, so now what has changed is that immediately a soft copy is mailed to the concerned person, and the photo is only mentioned that the hard copy will follow, and then it is only sent to the departmental head, all the deans, but not all the heads. Okay, and maybe to the accounts office if it is required there. So now, with the advent of technology, things are beginning to change, and yes, now in many organizations, it is a timely and systematic flow of communication. So, formal communication is four types: upward communication, downward communication, horizontal communication, and diagonal communication. Now, what is upward communication? It says upward communication contains information which passes from subordinate levels up to the management and senior levels. That means it goes from the bottom to the top. The flow of communication, okay, upward. That means the worker is communicating to the supervisor with the floor manager, the manager with the departmental head, the head with the vice president, okay, and then it reaches the CEO. Okay, so if there are any issues, any grievances, or there's any breakdown, any maintenance issues, you see, because what happens is that it has got to flow in a proper structure. That is the hierarchy or the protocol which is being followed in upward communication. Same thing in downward communication as well. So upward communication, what happens if you're giving a feedback, okay, or you're sending reports, or you're preparing your work performance, it has got to flow from the top to the from the bottom to the top panel. So from the bottom, it begins to flow and reaches the highest authority. That is, the flow is upward communication. Okay. So upward communication, it includes from employees to managers. It might include reports. It can include suggestions. It could include a request. It could include instructions as well as complaints. Downward communication is just the vice versa. Just a second, please hold on. Sorry, I had a call from one of the offices. Huh. So now downward communication. Now this communication flows from the top to the lower level of management. Okay, and as stated, this is considered to be the most stereotypical form of formal communication. And here information flows from the top to the lower level. Here, information in form of policies, rules, regulations. Okay, it could be retrenchment, it could be policy matters, instructions from the government. Okay, these information, okay, it goes from the top to the lower level. Okay, and it is the most common form of phone communication. Downward communication includes orders, instructions presented in oral or written format. Reports, emails, letters, and mail communication are commonly used downward communication too. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Third type is the horizontal communication. Now, the third type horizontal communication is not is less rigid. In fact, it's more fluid in nature. Why? Because in the horizontal type of communication, what happens is that you have people, okay, of different departments, okay, but having the same designations or different responsibilities sitting at the same level. Like you can have the GM marketing, you can have the GM finance, you can have the GM sales, all the general managers. Okay, they're sitting together. You might have the general manager services, you might have the general manager production. They're all sitting together at one level. And that way, what happens is that the flow of communication, okay, is in one direction, is in a parallel direction it flows. Fine. And decisions are taken, and this is between the middle level management. That what happens is that the people may have the same designation, but they will have different responsibilities. Okay, that you might have the general manager of different department sitting. So general manager marketing might have a different responsibility. A general manager production might have a different responsibility. A general manager of communications might have a different responsibility. Okay, so it says that horizontal communication refers to communication to individuals who are at the same or similar levels within an organization but have different areas of responsibility. Okay, so horizontal communication is slightly more fluid and dependent on cross individual communication. So you might have a general manager information technology. Okay, talking to a general manager services because you see, without IT today, without information technology, without services, without finance, nothing can prosper. Okay, so one example is given as between manager of different departments, or a manager HR talking to a manager marketing or sales or whatever, right? So that is horizontal communication. But here, since it flows in parallel direction, what happens is that it is slightly more fluid and less rigid. And then the last type of formal communication is diagonal communication. Here, it is communication flows in all directions, irrespective of the chain of command. Like you guys, okay, you're from the EC department. But it's not that you have got friends only from the electronics and communication engineering batch. You might have friends from mechanical, you might have friends from CS, isn't it? So, and there's no constraint that if you want to talk to a student of mechanical, you want to talk to a student of management, you need to seek the permission of respective heads. Okay. So here it says that this occurs with employees of different departments at different levels communicate with each other irrespective of the chain of command. Okay. Oh, like I told you that you might be having classes at different levels. Like you have your class, if you're there in the institute building, you might have your classes for communication, for electronics. Okay, where only students for electronics might be sitting. But the moment the classes get done, you go towards the cafeteria. You'll find students, okay, from different departments, and you mingle easily with them. You discuss issues, you discuss problems. Same thing happens in an organization. That different people they might meet on a common ground, maybe in the parking lot, or in the cafeteria, or in the aisle. Okay, while they bump into each other, you might discuss different issues of the department. Okay, and then for that they don't need any permission. So that is what is meant by diagonal communication. This occurs when employees of different departments at different levels communicate with each other irrespective of the chain of command. Communication between a floor manager and a sales team is a prime example of diagonal communication. So with this, your formal communication is done, and now comes in informal communication. Okay, now informal communication again is just the vice versa formal communication. Like I said, the formal communication is very stereotypical. It has got to adhere to the protocol and the hierarchy, whereas informal communication knows no such thing, follows no such thing. But when you talk about genuinity and about the genuineness and the reliability, formal communication is deemed to be more genuine, more reliable. Why? Because it has got a paper trail. You can find the source from where the information originated. Unlike informal communication, which does not have a paper trail, you might be walking by, you might be walking in the aisle or in the corridor, you might overhear something, you add two and two, and you pass it on. Okay, so it spreads like wildfire. Now that information might be correct, it might be incorrect because even if it's incorrect, who's there to catch hold of it? Because it's not formally done. You might simply then I know I didn't do it. And you prove it. So in formal communication, what happens? Everything is documented. Whereas in informal communication, nothing is documented. It is free flowing in all directions. Okay. And sometimes you see it is more effective than formal communication because formal communication moves like a goods train, moving slowly but carrying important documents, okay, in the form of goods, fine, which has the origin from where it is originating. Unlike an informal communication, which flows freely in all direction and or yeah, you can call that it's a Chinese product sort of thing. Okay, about which who's the genuineness cannot be confirmed whether it's genuine or not. Okay, right now the call that I had, okay, was about a similar thing. Is that you see, I purchased a optical drive, okay, from HP. It cost me 2,500 bucks. And another person purchased the same optical drive of HP at 1,700 rupees. Okay. And both the bills were sent to the accounts department for settlement. And I got a call from the accounts department that the product is the same, the company is the same, the bill is original, it has got the GST bill. How come there's a difference of 800 rupees? 50 to 100 rupees could be understood, but 800 to 1,000 bucks, okay, does not make sense. Doesn't make sense. So now they're trying to establish. I told them that I've kindly find out to the vendor or the supplier who has supplied that particular good. Okay, has it supplied a fake product or a genuine product? Okay, so now they said it cannot be established because he has given an original bill. But even then, we need to find it out. So that is what is meant by formal and informal. And formal has got is properly documented, whereas informal has got no trace or paper trace. It says that in comparison, informal communication refers to communication which is multidimensional. That means it is free flowing, going in all directions. Okay, informal communication moves freely within the organization as it is not bound by predefined channels and communication routes. Informal communication is particularly quick. Informal communication is far more relational than formal communication, and by nature, a very natural form of communication as people interact with each other freely and can talk about a diverse range of topics. So, in formal communication, I told you that you meet different people, you don't need to seek permission, and you can talk about a range of topics, isn't it? But again, when asked, you might have the source, you might not have source for it. Okay. Now, due to the inherent nature of informal communication, it moves a lot faster and does not have a paper trail. So the originality cannot be or the genuineness cannot be established. That is the only thing. Informal communication The workplace is often called the grapevine. I see. It's often said that there is no smoke without fire, isn't it? So, uh, how does a rumor or gossip begin? That some information is shared by a person within a close group of people. Okay, that I heard this, okay, this is going to happen. So, what happens? It's a close bunch of people. Similarly, what's called a grapevine. When you see the grapes that grow in the vineyard, they grow in thick bunches, isn't it? And they don't grow in isolation. That you find two grapes in one branch and two in the other. You'll find you in the vineyard. You'll find that they are growing in thick clusters, isn't it? Or bunches and bunches of grapes. So it generally begins with employees through local or social relations. That two people in the group, okay, they are privy to some piece of information, they're discussing something, and the other people also get wind of it, and suddenly it circulates within that particular group, and that's called a grapevine. Okay, and many times that information remains within the group unless or until one from the group decides to share the information with another friend of his in the other group, and then it again spreads that group and it continues to move forward, and it becomes a gossip or a rumor. Okay, because when asked to state from where you got it from, the person from the second group will say I got it from Y, the other will say I got it from K, he will say I got from L, and finally it goes to A. Look at the one who had started, he'll say, I don't know, I was just discussing it with my friend over phone. Somebody might have overheard me. I don't say it's genuine, and it dies down. So that is a grapevine or a gossip or a rumor. Okay, where the originality cannot be established. Now, informal communication is as effective as employees can discuss work-related issues with each other and it saves the organization time and money. It also helps to build more productivity and healthy leadership in the workforce. Okay. Now, key differences between formal and informal communication. We talk about reliability. Actually, formal communication is more reliable, okay, as it has the paper trail compared to informal communication, which has comparatively less reliability and is very unlikely to have a paper trail. So, as it has not been documented, one cannot say for surety as whether it's genuine or not. Second is speed. As compared to speed, informal communication, I told you, is free flowing. So, it is more fast as compared to formal communication. Okay, formal communication is slower sometimes, really unbearably slow due to bureaucracy or the protocols in which it has to follow. On the other hand, informal communication is very quick and often being instantaneous. Okay, third, time consuming. Again, formal communication is more time consuming because unless and until the source is established, the reliability is proven, it will not be passed on to different people. Okay, and there are different processes I told you that establishing the truth, gaining the evidence, okay, getting the approval of one another, and only then it begins to move. So, in formal communication, it's more time consuming. Okay, whereas informal communication requires very little process time. In fact, it requires none at all. Okay, information flow. Information through formal communication is only through predefined channels. Okay, whereas information through formal channels moves freely. So I told you again that formal communication follows through the stereotypical hierarchy that has been laid. Okay, whereas informal communication does not follow any predefined route or channel. And then secrecy. Where the matter of secrecy is there, it is again formal communication because not all information is shared with everyone. Unlike informal communication, because It's not privy to a few people, but it gets grown out of proportion. Secrecy cannot be maintained in informal communication. What are they? Like I told you, types of formal communication. You have upward, you have downward, you have horizontal, you have vertical. Same thing in informal. You've got gossip, you've got cluster, and the probability chain. I already told you about the gossip how it is spread. You've got single strand. That means one person. Okay, he has that information. He shares it to the person behind him. Okay, and that person might share it with the other person within a particular group, and that becomes a thing. That means not all of them are communicating with each other. One person is communicating with the other person, and vice versa. So it's called a form of informal communication where each person communicates to the next in a single sequence. That is a single strand. Then a cluster, I told you about a vineyard, a very formal common group of informal communication in cluster networks. The person receives information and choose to pass it on to the cluster network. That means within the group or to a different group. Okay, or keep the information to themselves. So that information either remains in that one group, or if he decides, he can pass it on to his friend in the next group. And there what happens? Each individual will pass on the information to the next cluster network. Okay. And third is probability chain. The probability that each individual randomly tells another individual the same piece of information. That if I tell you that look, tomorrow is a holiday. Okay. And you didn't get the full information because you don't say holiday for what? And you pass it on. A neutral person see, hey, tomorrow is a holiday. And you know why? Because it's for this. And that D will add something more to it and he'll tell it to the other person. You see, there's a holiday. Raman told me, and the holiday because there's some work going on in the institute and the classes are suspended for the entire day because we are having this event. The class is suspended, so it's a holiday for us. So the probability is very very less that the person, or very low that the person will tell the exact story. No, it certainly add or reduce something from the story. So it becomes like a tale of Hanumana. Okay, so these were the types of informal communication. When we meet in the next class, we'll discuss more about informal and formal communication. Okay, so once great to all of you. Was this great to all of you? Okay, so that's it for today. You all can leave now. Thank you.